This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
A one, a two, three, four.
Program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, it doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, I think we've already established that, but that's okay. We can continue to say it day in and day out. Anyways, how have you been? Hopefully the last 24 hours have been grandioso to you, because today is Friday, April the 24th of 2026, which means it's Freeform Friday, and we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and then hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
Radio Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Oh, yes, doing all the fun stuff that we get to do around here, no doubt about that. So, it's Friday, which to me, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't mean that I enjoy what I do more or less because it's Friday, or I can't wait till the day is over, because that's not the case. What it means to me is that it's freeform, which means, you know what I had to do today? I had to dogpile all the stuff that we had not get into or something that we did not provide earlier in the week, and then say, okay, how in the hell are we going to do this today? That's essentially what it boils down to. So we're going to talk a little bit about everything that is going on inside of the world of the multiverse. There is no doubt about that. So take a listen to this.
Warning. Productivity levels just dropped to 0. It's Friday.
So there you go. I'm just kind of giving you the readout of the day on how this is going to end up going. So no doubt about that. So if you're good and I'm good, I think that we should start talking right away about some of the stuff that is going on inside of the world of the multiverse. So here's how we do our stuff. We talk about safety in the news and safety. And most of the times I give you some main level of a main story today. But you want to know a little secret? That shit ain't going to happen today. You want to know why? Because we have to talk about everything else that's going on. So, if you're ready for this, I have my friends from Feature Story News ready to talk. But in the interim time, we can discuss this. If you're ready. What will happen is that if you want to interact with the show, you can go to something called Call In Radio. That's Call In Radio. Once you get there, it'll be audio, video, and text messaging. Those are the options of what happens if you want to come in, hang out, and do all the stuff. But before we do all of that, if you're cool with this, we can do our weekend review, which means we'll talk about everything that's happened this week until this point, because that's what happens around here. So let's do the weekend review right now.
This soldier, Gannon Ken Van Dyke, is alleged to have participated in the planning and execution of that operation that captured Maduro. The Justice Department tonight charging him with using classified information to place about $33,000 in wagers, including bets on whether or not Maduro would be removed from office, making him more than $400,000.
In Louisiana, where multiple suspects have been arrested after authorities say one person was killed and 5 others injured in a shootout at a mall. Police say more people may be involved.
President Trump issuing a new warning to Iran, posting orders to the Navy to, quote, shoot and kill any boat mining the Strait of Hormuz.
An historic policy shift on medical marijuana by the Department of Justice. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche signing an order reclassifying state-licensed medical marijuana from a Schedule I drug to a less dangerous Schedule III drug. The move does not legalize marijuana for recreational use.
The Trump administration is working on a plan to bail out and take over Spirit Airlines. The low-cost carrier is struggling with rising fuel prices due to the war with Iran.
Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Dave Mason, a founding member of Fleetwood Mac, died in his Nevada home. Now, Mason's team did not disclose the circumstances surrounding his passing. But in June of 2025, Mason canceled all tour dates due to, quote, ongoing health concerns. And then he canceled appearances in 2024 after doctors discovered he had a serious heart condition.
Terrifying wildfires in the southeast. In Georgia, dozens of homes have already been destroyed. Multiple fires have exploded in size, including 2 massive ones in the southern part of the state.
You guys see this? Red Lobster is bringing back their Endless Shrimp promotion. Isn't that wild? They actually released a new commercial about it. Check it out.
Endless Shrimp is and we're bankrupt. Damn it. Red Lobster. Oops, we did it again.
Oops. The New York Mets have the second highest payroll in, I think, the history of baseball. And they've also now, as of the time we are taping this show, lost 12 games in a row. It's their longest losing streak in more than 40 years.
Okay, so there you go. That is the week in review. If we want to, talk about that stuff. So there you go. That's what's happened so far. So I think I was in shock yesterday, even though there was some level of discussion about this earlier in the week of marijuana being moved from a Schedule I to a Schedule III drug, which still makes it pretty interesting. Don't get me wrong. It is still illegal and for most places for recreational use. So this is I'll make sure that we're aware of that. But what an interesting time. In regards of seeing Joe Rogan in the White House over the weekend, having the discussion, this getting moved. So we'll see what happens going forward. I wonder how many of the the users are loving Rogan now. I mean, the best way possible. I do listen to Joe Rogan from time to time. I cannot say that I listen to every broadcast, podcast, or whatever he does because it's 3 to 4 hours long. I don't have that much time to share, but what I do have, when there is select guests on there, I do take a listen. I'm not going to lie there. So there you go. So with that being said, I do have my friends' feature story news ready to go. So if you're good with that, I'm definitely sure as shit good with it. So let's go ahead and get into the news right now because, hey, what else would we be doing if we weren't doing that?
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Simon Gaitan. US President Trump says he's under no pressure to end the war with Iran and that he doesn't want to rush peace talks. The US and Iran remain in a stalemate over the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway for oil and gas supplies, with Trump saying no ship will pass until Tehran agrees to a deal. President Trump also announced the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire has been extended by 3 weeks, following his meeting with the ambassadors of both countries at the White House on Thursday. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
President Trump said the meeting between the two ambassadors went very well and that the United States was going to work with Lebanon to help it protect itself from the Iran-backed group Hezbollah. President Trump announced the ceasefire and said that during that next 3 weeks it's possible the Prime Minister of Israel and the President of Lebanon could meet face-to-face at the White House to seal a longer-term deal. He also said that Iran must stop funding Hezbollah. One of the key demands that Tehran stops working with proxies, including Hamas in Gaza and the Houthis in Yemen. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
It's claimed the US is considering reviewing its support for Britain's claim to the Falkland Islands. It's one of a number of options apparently being examined to punish NATO members for failing to support the Iran war. John Beaver has more.
An internal Pentagon email has expressed frustration with NATO allies for their reluctance or outright refusal to host US aircraft conducting strikes against Iran. The claims come from an unnamed source talking to the Reuters news agency, who claims to have read the email. Options for punishment apparently include reviewing the US position on Britain's territorial claims to the Falkland Islands, as well as suspending Spain from NATO. The Spanish Prime Minister has been a vocal critic of the US war with Iran, calling for diplomacy and negotiation instead of a military operation. John Beaver reporting.
EU leaders are meeting in Cyprus to discuss the $2.1 trillion multi-year EU budget, which needs to be in place before the current one runs out at the end of 2027. On Thursday, they finally signed off on a $100 billion loan to Ukraine after months of being held up by Hungary. Ross Cullen reports.
The budget and the Ukraine loan are not the only items on the agenda for the presidents, prime ministers and chancellors gathering on the eastern coast of Cyprus. They are also confronting the ongoing economic fallout of the war in Iran, mutual defence clauses and the EU accession paths for Ukraine and Moldova. The EU also approved its 20th round of sanctions on Russia, which was another piece of good news for the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who joined the talks in Ayia Napa. The outgoing Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban skipped what would have been his final summit in charge, and his fellow leaders are hoping for less intransigence from his incoming replacement, Peter Magyar.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today at Donald Trump's efforts to try and get Italy included in this summer's World Cup, even though the country didn't qualify for the tournament. The war on Iran is raising questions about whether Iran, which did qualify, will send a team to compete in the tournament that's being held in the US, Canada and Mexico. The American president's personal envoy told FIFA this week the White House wants the spot given to Italy, allegedly because it has won 4 previous World Cup titles, but David Haig, a human rights lawyer and the former managing director of Premier League team Leeds United, thinks it's an effort by Trump to mend fences with Italy's Prime Minister and the Pope.
He clearly thinks he can trade spots in the World Cup for political gain. Italy didn't qualify, full stop. Now, let's say Iran, for whatever reason, doesn't send a team. There is discretion with FIFA of what to do, but usually that would be within the same group, which is Asia. The strongest team there, UAE, United Arab Emirates. Perhaps not the most clean substitution, but FIFA said they're not going to change it for Italy. But another very good reason why politics needs to be kept out of sport, because you can't be trading spaces and subbing one country for another because you prefer the Prime Minister.
Iran said it would not compete in the tournament back in March at the start of the war, but FIFA President Gianni Infantino says he still thinks the team will show up. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
To recap the top stories, US President Trump says he's under no pressure to end the war with Iran as the two countries remain in a stalemate over the Strait of Hormuz. The Israel-Lebanon ceasefire has been extended by 3 weeks following talks between the two countries and the US in Washington. And EU leaders are meeting in Cyprus to discuss the $2.1 trillion multi-year EU budget, which needs to be in place before the current one runs out at the end of 2027. That's the latest feature story news. Simon Gaitan reporting.
We are now video streaming the Rated R Safety Show. I don't know why our host has a face for radio. Rated R Safety Show.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello. This isn't a safety manual. It's a transmission. J. Allen.
PhD, host of the Rated R Safety Show and founder of Safety FM, has spent years pulling back the curtain on the systems we work in and the ones we don't talk about. What started as a fatal crash on the 405 became a search for truth. Through behavior-based safety, human and organizational performance, simulation theory, and everything in between. Safety, in my opinion, is raw, reflective, and real. From burnout to breakthroughs, from the matrix to the moment someone says, "This doesn't feel right." This book doesn't give you answers. It hands you the signal. Safety, in my opinion. Available now, wherever books and audiobooks are found.
Our station is so big that you don't have to do much to make it work for you. Radio Big.
Okay, so there you go. 16 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely Friday. So there you go. Okay, so let's start talking right away about some happy-go-lucky stuff, because that's just kind of what we do here from time to time. No doubt about that. So, Domino's is celebrating the kindness of Idaho delivery driver Dan Simpson, whose good deed went viral and inspired strangers online to raise more than $145,000 for his upcoming retirement. Simpson became an internet hero after doorbell camera footage showed him going above and beyond during a March 27th delivery when the store ran out of Diet Coke, a customer order. Dan stopped on his own on the way to buy one and then brushed off the customer's apology for not tipping more. The TikTok clips have been viewed more than, you ready for this? 3 million times. 3 million times to honor him. Domino has teamed up with Coca-Cola Company for a limited time promo from April the 30th. So just keep that in mind, a few days away, to May the 3rd. Anyone who orders online and uses the code DANTHUM, so that's Dan, so it's essentially Dan the Man. Dan the Man gets a free 20-ounce Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, or Coke Zero Sugar. Domino says the offer is meant to continue the spirit of generosity sparked by Dan Simpson's act of kindness. Proof that sometimes the smallest gesture has the biggest impact. Take a listen.
Did you get my message? I did. Actually, the voicemail just popped up. I didn't see a phone call come in. I'm sorry about that.
We had a Diet Coke.
Oh, okay.
I stopped at the store, though. So.
Oh, you did not have to do that.
Oh, that's okay.
Did you really?
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, man. Hold on now.
Well,
do you have a way I can add more to your tip? Because you deserve more than that. I don't have any cash on you, is my problem.
Oh, don't worry about it. That's fine. $6.60, that's a good tip.
No.
The store's right next to us, you know.
Yeah. So hey, listen, I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, that's okay.
If I call into the store, can they take more on that tip? I wish I had cash for you.
Oh, you don't need to.
Oh,
that's a good tip.
All right. What's
your name? Mine's Dan.
Dan, I'm Brian. I appreciate you. You're at that store up on Maple Grove.
Yeah. Call him and tell him that Dan. He's a great driver.
I'm going to, Dan.
I
appreciate you very much.
14 years I've worked there. I'm retiring in 26 days.
So there you go. Dan definitely sounds like Dan is the man when it's all said and done. So there you go. You know, sometimes we tend to forget to talk about good deeds that people go around and do. So maybe that's something that we should remember from time to time. You know, it's some of those things that we don't bring up when it's all said and done. So there you go. Okay, so should we do this? Let's go ahead and do this real quick because maybe that's important. Let's see. On Fridays, because we do freeform everything, we tend sometimes to forget some of the crucial parts of what we're supposed to be doing. So I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a bad thing. I don't know if it's just one of those things that we kind of go all over the place when we start talking about some of the stuff. So should we do something instead that's a little bit more serious, or should we do something a little bit more, you know, whatever, little here, little there, little everywhere? Let's do this because I think we need to probably do serious for a moment, and then we'll kind of get into some of the odd stuff. So let's do a couple of things. So we've been talking about this one for a hot minute, so I think we should talk about it now. Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders have officially given the early approval to the long-running, highly competitive merger bid from Paramount Skydance, moving the deal from one big step closer to reality. Paramount is offering $31 a share to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, a massive jump considering that the stock was trading at around $8 just a year ago. That sits nearly $27 today. Shareholders are thrilled with the premium, and the deal caps off of months of long bidding between Netflix and Paramount, which has started back in October. Warner Brothers Discovery, or WBD, originally accepted Netflix offer in December. Paramount then launched a hostile counterbid backed by $40 billion in equity from Oracle founder Larry Ellison. Both companies eventually switched to all-cash offers. If completed, the merger would fold TNT, CNN, Discovery Channel, HBO Max, and the entire Warner Brothers film studio under Paramount umbrella, creating one of the largest companies in the world. The companies expect the deal to close in quarter 3 of 2026, pending regulatory approval. Something tells me that this will go relatively quick if it does if they go into getting this approved or under
regulatory
approvals. What do you think here? I'm just saying. I just know a person that knows a person that knows a person that might be able to get that pushed through the final zone there. I'm just saying something to think about as we are talking. So what do you think? I'm just asking. I am just asking your opinion, because that is what we do. We ask opinions here. So there you go. Okay, so let's continue talking about some other stuff that is going on inside of the world, because that is what we do. So do we have this? Okay, let's do it.
I wouldn't recommend playing football with mushrooms. They're always spore losers.
Okay, so that was Alexa's joke for the day. I guess we got it. Okay, so here's some other stuff that we should probably talk about. Are you big into how do I word this properly? Are you big into football? I'm just asking, because if you are, maybe we should have a brief discussion about this. Roger Goodell got his traditional wave of boos as he walked on stage to open the NFL draft in Pittsburgh last night. The long-running ritual has become part of the draft culture, and the fans packed the outside stadium and kept it alive with full force. Like full force, not like partial force. Goodell leaned into the moment, appearing alongside the Steelers stars T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward. As the crowd unloaded on him, he joked, "Pittsburgh, we are here," and even taunted the fans to boo louder. Come on, you can do better than that. The opening ceremony also featured Steelers legend Terry Bradshaw, Mel Blount, Hines Ward, Lynn Swann, and Ben Roethlisberger. Goodell, commissioner since 2006, has seen his popularity dip in recent years over issues like rising costs for fans, inconsistent disciplinary decisions, and frustration with officiating. The criticism flared again in February when he praised the league's referee, prompting fans online to question whether he was watching the same games they were. So that's something to think about. So take a listen to this from last night.
With a terrible towel waving T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward to provide a little bit of booing support here in the Commonwealth. We send things to the stage to get things started.
Pittsburgh, here we are. Come on, you do better than that. We have over 300,000 people. Let's go. Let's hear you.
Okay, so think about that for just a moment. 300,000 people. And I'm not going to say that every single person was booing them or booing him, but geez, man, think about that. I mean, the love there sounds very strong when it's all said and done. If people are booing you that much in regards to what's going on. So there you go. Okay, so let's get into some more serious business because that's kind of what we have to do for part of the show. Let's just be realistic. So an active shooter opened fire inside of a mall in Louisiana in Baton Rouge around 1:20 p.m. yesterday, or 13:20, if that helps out a better. Yesterday, sending shoppers running for safety. Police say that at least 10 people were injured, with several rushed into emergency surgery and others in critical condition. Investigators believe that this was a targeted attack between two groups, not a random shooting. Authorities are now searching for one of the two suspects who fled the scene. Paramedics set up a triage near JCPenney's as the crowd evacuated. Witnesses described the chaos, including officers carrying children to safety and shoppers being moved through the service tunnels beneath the mall. One mall employee said that she initially thought that the gunfire was fireworks before seeing victims bleeding and a woman receiving CPR. Multiple agencies, FBI, SWAT, state police, and East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office remain on the scene. A state police helicopter is circling the area, and officials are asking the public to submit video footage. Two nearby hospitals, including Our Lady of Lake Regional Medical Center, were placed on lockdown. As a precaution, of course. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, Attorney General Liz Murrill, and Baton Rouge Mayor Sid Edwards all acknowledged the incident, and Edwards saying that all civilians have been safely escorted out and vowing that the shooters will be caught. The shooting comes just days after the state was rocked by another tragedy, the Shreveport massacre, in which 8 children were killed. So, update, 5 people are in custody currently. Take a listen to this.
Oh yeah, they serious. Oh boy, bro, yeah, they shooting them all up in it. Boy, I was at work, but I ain't know what the going on. But it's just shots lit off, bro. I thought it was just construction workers in that. Got an active shooter in his. Oh my god, active shooter in his.
I mean, just think about it for a moment. You're actually at work, as this gentleman's talking about, and all of a sudden, voila, you got this going on. You're probably going to be in a shock and saying some things there that you're not 100% sure of what exactly is going on. I get it. No doubt about it whatsoever. So there you go. So what do you think here? What do you think? I mean, I'm being serious as we are talking because, man, what do you think? I mean, it's getting weirder and weirder when it comes to some stuff. I just don't know sometimes how to go about talking about some of this because it gets so crazy, and I just don't want it to sound like, hey, you're talking about this. Is this really what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. But there you go. A lot of stuff happening inside of the world. So there you go. 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 Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff that is going on inside of the world, because that's kind of what we do around here. That's what we're known for. This is what things happen. So I don't even know how to start with this one. A 22-year-old man in Thailand has admitted that he intentionally started a forest fire simply because he was bored and wanted some fun. Rangers in the Karaghat forest in Thailand detained him and detained him after repeated fires were reported in the area. When questioned, he confessed that it was lit the fires just to watch Rangers rush in and to put them out, calling the act of recklessness. Let's see. He was carrying a lighter and couldn't explain why he was in the forest, leading to his arrest. Authorities have charged him with damaging natural resources, and he remains in custody while officials determine the penalties. Thailand is already battling numerous forest fires caused by drought and human negligence, but this appears to be the first case of wildfires purely based for entertainment purposes, which is kind of a jackass thing to do just in general if we really want to talk about it for a moment. So take a listen to this real quick. A police chase in Washington State turned into something straight out of a low-budget action movie when suspects threw a chainsaw the pursuing deputies. It started after a woman reported her car stolen from an apartment complex in a parkland around midnight. Deputies quickly spotted the stolen vehicle and tried to pull it over, but the driver took off, leading the police on a chase on I-5 South towards Joint Base Lewis McChord. That's when things got weird. The passenger started tossing items out the window, including rope and, yes, an actual chainsaw. In an apparent attempt to disable the patrol cars behind them, the deputy could be heard on the radio saying, "They just threw a chainsaw at me," which is probably not a sentence they cover much in the police academy. Eventually, the suspect ditched the car after it got stuck, and tried to run by foot. The K-9 officers warned one of them that his dog would find them and bite him. Spoiler alert, the dog kept his promise, and the 31-year-old passenger was found bitten and taken into the hospital. He now faces charges including assault on deputies, eluding and possessing of vehicle theft tools. The 28-year-old driver was later found by military police on a base and charged with vehicle theft and felony eluding. So yes, Grand Theft Auto, but apparently the bonus level involved Home Depot. So there you go. I mean, I've never, ever heard about anybody throwing a fucking chainsaw at someone, but I guess that happens from time to time as we are talking. Okay, so listen to this real quick. A man thought that he had pulled off a thrift store score of the century when he found a white shirt with a horse logo on the pocket at a charity shop. Convinced that he found a classy Ralph Lauren shirt on the cheap, he proudly bought it home, only for his daughter to immediately crush his dream. Turns out the designer logo wasn't Ralph Lauren at all. It was Lloyd's Bank horse logo. Meaning that dad unknowingly bought what he would look like a former bank employee uniform. His daughter Emma posted a funny mistake online, explained that he needed a white shirt for his son's upcoming wedding and didn't want to spend much on something that he'd only wear once. They pointed out the obvious mistake. His defense was simple, perfect. I bank with Santander. She joked that if he wore it to the wedding, guests would spend the whole night asking him about mortgage and variable interest rates. Commenters piled on with some joking on how access to Lloyd's Bank vault in the country, while others pointed out that the bank uniforms probably should be ending up in charity shops. And in the end, he returned the shirt for a refund. So sadly, his brief banking career was over. So there you go. Let me give you a couple more here, if you don't mind. A carpenter from Kent decided to drop the toolbox and let the dog take the lead after realizing that his French bulldog was earning a better hourly rate than he was. Duncan Tout originally created an Instagram page for his dog TJ back in 2021 as nothing more than a way to save memories. Duh. But after one video of TJ swimming went viral, things took off fast. Brands started offering paid promotion, and the dog's comedy and travel videos started bringing in serious money. Soon, TJ was landing brand deals, free luxury hotel stays, gourmet meals, ferry trips to Paris, and even talks to private jets trips to New York, because apparently economy class is beneath French bulldogs now. Duncan said that he was working long days as a carpenter, waking up at 6 a.m., commuting into London, and also playing semi-pro rugby. Meanwhile, the dog basically becoming a furry influencer with a better social calendar than most humans. By January of 2025, Duncan officially quit carpentry to manage TJ's social media full-time, because frankly, if your dog is the breadwinner, you stop arguing and start carrying the treats. TJ has now more than 700,000 TikTok followers and tens of millions of views. Though Duncan says that the dog has absolutely no clue that he's famous, which honestly makes him smarter than most influencers. So here's the funny part, if you think about it for a moment. You are aware that the dog is more popular than you, and then you quit everything. So if anything goes wrong with the dog, you know you're kind of screwed. I mean, I don't know if I should say that's the funny part, But it's definitely the interesting part. So take a listen to this. After a circus in Russia, the audience got a little bit more interactive entertainment than expected when a tiger leaped into the crowd after a safety barrier suddenly collapsed. 2 trainers and 3 tigers were performing inside of the ring at the Dynasty Circus when the barrier separating the animals from the audience gave way. One of the tigers took it as an open invitation and casually hopped into the seating area, sending families scrambling like someone yelled free vodka. The announcer tried to keep things calm over the loudspeaker, saying, "Dear visitors, please remain calm or you'll make it worse," which is an easy to say when you're not sharing an armrest space with the tiger. Videos show that the tiger wandering through the rows while spectators, including families and small children, rushed away. The trainer quickly moved in and guided the tiger towards the exit. No one was hurt. Witnesses say that the tiger wasn't aggressive and actually seemed more interested in getting away from the crowd than attacking them. Authorities have now opened a criminal investigation into how the barrier failed in the first place. Sounds like a fucking single-point failure system, but we'll leave it at that. Anyways, with that being said, we are definitely way past due. Let's get into the news.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Simon Gaitan. US President Trump says he's under no pressure to end the war with Iran and that he doesn't want to rush peace talks. The US and Iran remain in a stalemate over the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway for oil and gas supplies, with Trump saying no ship will pass until Tehran agrees to a deal. President Trump also announced the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire has been extended by 3 weeks, following his meeting with the ambassadors of both countries at the White House on Thursday. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
President Trump said the meeting between the 2 ambassadors went very well, and that the United States was going to work with Lebanon to help it protect itself from the Iran-backed group Hezbollah. President Trump announced the ceasefire and said that during that next 3 weeks, it's possible the Prime Minister of Israel and the President of Lebanon could meet face-to-face at the White House to seal a longer-term deal. He also said that Iran must stop funding Hezbollah, one of the key demands that Tehran stops working with proxies, including Hamas in Gaza and the Houthis in Yemen. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
It's claimed the US is considering reviewing its support for Britain's claim to the Falkland Islands. It's one of a number of options apparently being examined to punish NATO members for failing to support the Iran war. John Beaver has more.
An internal Pentagon email has expressed frustration with NATO allies for their reluctance or outright refusal to host US aircraft conducting strikes against Iran. The claims come from an unnamed source talking to the Reuters news agency, who claims to have read the email. Options for punishment apparently include reviewing the US position on Britain's territorial claims to the Falkland Islands, as well as suspending Spain from NATO. The Spanish Prime Minister has been a vocal critic of the US war with Iran, calling for diplomacy and negotiation instead of a military operation. John Beaver reporting.
EU leaders are meeting in Cyprus to discuss the $2.1 trillion multi-year EU budget, which needs to be in place before the current one runs out at the end of 2027. On Thursday, they finally signed off on a $100 billion loan to Ukraine after months of being held up by Hungary. Ross Cullen reports.
The budget and the Ukraine loan are not the only items on the agenda for the presidents, prime ministers and chancellors gathering on the eastern coast of Cyprus. They are also confronting the ongoing economic fallout of the war in Iran, mutual defence clauses and the EU accession paths for Ukraine and Moldova. The EU also approved its 20th round of sanctions on Russia, which was another piece of good news for the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who joined the talks in Ayia Napa. The outgoing Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban skipped what would have been his final summit in charge, and his fellow leaders are hoping for less intransigence from his incoming replacement, Peter Magyar.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking today at Donald Trump's efforts to try and get Italy included in this summer's World Cup, even though the country didn't qualify for the tournament. The war on Iran is raising questions about whether Iran, which did qualify, will send a team to compete in the tournament that's being held in the US, Canada and Mexico. The American president's personal envoy told FIFA this week the White House wants the spot given to Italy, allegedly because it has won 4 previous World Cup titles. But David Haig, a human rights lawyer and the former managing director of Premier League team Leeds United, thinks it's an effort by Trump to mend fences with Italy's Prime Minister and the Pope.
He clearly thinks he can trade spots in the World Cup for political gain. Italy didn't qualify, full stop. Now, let's say Iran, for whatever reason, doesn't send a team. There is discretion with FIFA of what to do, but usually that would be within the same group, which is Asia. The strongest team there, UAE, United Arab Emirates. Perhaps not the most clean substitution, but FIFA said they're not going to change it for Italy. But another very good reason why politics needs to be kept out of sport, because you can't be trading spaces and subbing one country for another because you prefer the Prime Minister.
Iran said it would not compete in the tournament back in March at the start of the war, but FIFA President Gianni Infantino says he still thinks the team will show up. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
To recap the top stories, US President Trump says he's under no pressure to end the war with Iran as the two countries remain in a stalemate over the Strait of Hormuz. The Israel-Lebanon ceasefire has been extended by 3 weeks following talks between the two countries and the US in Washington. And EU leaders are meeting in Cyprus to discuss the $2.1 trillion multi-year EU budget, which needs to be in place before the current one runs out at the end of 2027. That's the latest feature story news. Simon Gaitan reporting.
Listen to our host of the Rated R Safety Show self-implode on our airwaves, only on Safety FM.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
You ever hit the wall, burnout, stressed, or just feeling that everything is piling up and thought, yeah, I probably need to talk to someone? The problem is finding the therapist who actually takes your insurance feels impossible at times. That's where Rula comes in. Rula is a healthcare company that makes mental health care easy to access and actually affordable. They partner with over 100 insurance plans So the average copay is about $15 a session, sometimes even less. With Rula, you get matched with the right therapist for you, not just whoever's available. Their network has over 15,000 licensed professionals, and you can book an appointment as soon as tomorrow. No wait list, no frustrations, just therapy that works with your schedule and your insurance. Thousands of people are already using Rula to get affordable, high-quality therapy that actually covered by insurance. Visit rula.com/safetyfm to get started. After you sign up, you'll be asked how you heard about them. Please support our show and let them know that we sent you there. That's rula.com/safetyfm. You deserve mental health care that works with you, not against your budget. Go to rula.com/safetyfm right now to get started. That's rula.com/safetyfm, because you deserve mental health care that works with you, not against your budget.
Pop quiz, hotshot. During a heat wave, what's more important, air conditioning or air guitar?
Is it air conditioning?
Air guitar. The answer is always air guitar.
Okay, here we go. 45 minutes past the top of the hour. This has Got You Floored by Superior Motive. Songs readily available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and Pandora. We would like to thank Superior Motive for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show. Yeah, no doubt about that. So there you go. Always a good time when we get to hang out and listen to some new music as we get to almost on a daily basis here. You know, so there you go. A lot of fun stuff as we are hanging out. So there you go. I would say go ahead and give that one a little streamer-emer action if you're feeling a little punk rockish, if I may put it in that particular way. So with that being said, let's start talking right away about some other stuff that is going on inside of the world of the multiverse, because that is kind of what we do. So let's talk about this, because this is definitely going to be the most important thing that I ever tell you in my lifetime. So let me tell you about my friends at To Write Love on Our Arms. Seriously. And here we go. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help, and we want you to know that people have been where you are now, and things can get better. Healing is possible. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com, and go to the section that says Find Help. Once you get there, you will see that there is information about addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, self-injury, suicide trauma, and grief support, just to name a few. So if you scroll down, depending on what state, country, whatever that you're in, there's also some additional information. There is the crisis text line. That's at 741741. Just text TWLOHA to it. If you go to the crisis text line for the UK, it's 85258. If you're looking for the crisis text line for Ireland, it's 50808. If you're looking for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, it's 988. If you're looking for the Trans Lifeline, it's 877-565-8860. And then if you're looking for the Trevor Project, it's 866-488-7386. All kinds of good information on that website. That's TWLOHA.com, and click on the section that says Find Help. Seriously, it can change everything for you just by going there. Not a joke as I say that. Definitely some serious business, no doubt about that. So let me tell you about this coming up real quick, because I don't want to forget about it. On July the 13th, 2026, Orlando, Florida, Reality Shift Symposium. taking place in Orlando. We're taking over a movie theater. We're going to have Nick Weatherly there talking about behavior-based safety, Todd Conklin there talking about human and organizational performance, and I will be there talking about Signal Trilogy. So there you go. Would love to see you there. We'll be renting out a movie theater, hanging out for the day, doing some stuff that's normally not done at some of these events. We're testing this one. Let's not lie what we're doing here. We're also going to slap a documentary in the middle of it as we are talking. So would love to see you there. An observational symposium called Reality Shifts. Want you to take a different look at some of these things and notice how things synthesize when it comes to these subjects. All you need to do is scan the little QR code that's on the screen or go to safetyfm.io. That's safetyfm.io for some more information. Why is it happening on a Monday? Would love for you to hang out in Orlando over the weekend. Why would you not want to do that? I mean, I don't know if you heard this, but there are some theme parks here, if that's something you're interested in. And you're probably like 30, 40 miles from the beach, depending on where you're located in Orlando. You hit a road, seriously, called 528, which they refer to as the beach line. So you'll get there. I always think it's interesting, or I should rephrase this. I think it's interesting. There was one time that I was at a Disney park called Blizzard Beach. And I'm leaving. It was closing down for the day, me and a friend of mine that were there. And all of a sudden somebody comes up and they're like, where's the beach located? Because they were looking for the beach, because they were there from somewhere else, not realizing that Blizzard Beach is a theme park, not an actual beach itself. I know. Gets pretty interesting when you start thinking about it. Anyways, let's bring some John Small into our life. Let him tell us about what the hell is going on with the Motivation Minute.
Courtesy of JaceCaseMedical.com. Today's quote was submitted by Bobby. Charlie Chaplin said, "Imagination means nothing without doing." I love this quote. It actually reminds me of another famous quote from Albert Einstein. He said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." Now, I agree wholeheartedly with both of these quotes. I've always loved to use my imagination. This is like many other things in life. The more you use it, the stronger and the better it is. Sadly, we don't use our imaginations nearly as much these days. We've got these little computers in our pocket that give us the answer to any question we can dream up. When I was a kid, we lived in an age of wonder. We didn't have access to the info, so we would think about it. We would wonder how things worked and what made them possible. I would take things apart to see how they were built, then hopefully get them all put back together again the correct way. This has been the Motivation Minute. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
In Mexico, a deadly shooting at a major tourist pyramid site has shocked the country and raised fresh concern about the reach of violence beyond organized cartel territory.
At least 6 people were killed and several others seriously.
In Mexico, a deadly shooting at a major tourist pyramid site has shocked the country and raised fresh concern about the reach of violence beyond organized cartel territory.
At least 6 people were killed and several others seriously wounded when a gunman opened fire in a crowded plaza at the famous archaeological site, throwing the region into a tense lockdown as police and federal forces launched a citywide manhunt. Officials say the attack appears to be the work of a lone assailant, not a broad cartel operation. Benjamin Wright reporting.
A Philadelphia police headquarters has been hit by a car that smashed through the front of the building in what the city's police commissioner has called a troubling deliberate act carried out by a lone driver with no clear public motive.
The vehicle crashed through glass doors and into the lobby, knocking over desks and scattering officers and staff before the driver was subdued and taken into custody without a struggle. At least 3 officers and 1 civilian were injured, but none of the wounds are reported as life-threatening. Lawrence Keller reporting.
American Airlines and Air Canada narrowly avoided a serious mid-air collision Tuesday when one of their passenger jets came within about 350 feet of another plane in busy airspace near New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport.
The close call happened during a crowded evening departure window, as both flights were climbing through low cloud and moderate traffic, and the onboard warning systems triggered alerts seconds before the aircraft would have intersected. Jessica Oakley reporting.
In Europe, the European Union is unveiling a package of emergency measures to stabilize energy markets and shield households and businesses from the latest surge in fuel prices.
The plan includes short-term subsidies for vulnerable families, temporary price caps on gas and electricity, and a push to fast-track renewable projects and storage capacity across member states. European leaders say the moves are meant to cushion the impact without locking in fossil fuel dependence. Gary Beck reporting.
New U.S. and Iranian officials have now extended their ceasefire indefinitely, even as Iran continues to test international waters with new military actions in the Strait of Hormuz amid fragile peace talks in Islamabad.
The latest round of talks has struggled to take off, with Iran's military parading a large apparent ballistic missile in Tehran, while the United States insists on a unified proposal from Tehran before any real deal can move forward. Diplomats from both sides say they are still far apart on core security issues. Chris Anderson reporting.
Across the American South and Midwest, a wave of severe storms has brought damaging tornadoes, hail, and heavy rain that have knocked out power to hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses.
The strongest twister touched down early Wednesday in a rural county, carving a path through fields and small neighborhoods, and flipping trucks and farm equipment as it moved across the landscape. Emergency crews have reported at least a handful of serious injuries. Kyle Norris reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
Prepare yourself. We are now being distributed on iHeartRadio. Listen on iHeartRadio app. Radio Big.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so there you go. 55 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out. Let's talk about some things that happened back on this day. Back in 1888, Eastman Kodak forms. If you're not familiar with what that is, you might want to look it up. Might help you. Okay, so in 1961, JFK accepts sole responsibility for following Bay of Pigs. Also in 1981, IBM Computer is introduced. In 1989, Massachusetts declares New Kids on the Block Day. In 1992, David Bowie marries model Iman in Switzerland. Let's see. What else? In 1994, actress Kelly Preston weds Lou Diamond Phillips. I did not know that. That's news to me. So when did she marry John Travolta? Interesting. I had to look that up. What else? In 2021, Joe Biden becomes the first president to officially recognize killing of Armenians in Ottoman Empire during World War II as genocide. In 2023, Tucker Carlson, Fox News' most popular primetime host, is fired from the cable network. So all that stuff happened back on those dates. If you're looking at some celebrity birthdays for today, let me give you some of those. Shirley MacLaine turns 93 today. She was very popular in Alfred Hitchcock, The Trouble with Harry. Barbara Streisand turns 84. Doug Clifford turns 81. Glenn Morshower turns 67. Cedric the Entertainer turns 62. Eric Balfour turns 49 today. And Kelly Clarkson, she turns 44 today, just in case if you're wondering about some birthdays. Let's talk about some things that you ought to know. Tonight's Mega Million jackpot is for $150 million. Tomorrow's Powerball jackpot is for $118 million. President Trump announced that another prescription drug pricing deal. This time it's with biotech Regeneron as part of the White House most favored nation pricing policy. The idea is simple. Drug companies voluntarily lower the prices of their medications sold to both the public and the government through Trump RX website, bringing the U.S. prices more in line with what other countries pay. In exchange, the company gets benefits from the administration, including relief from the president's tariffs and other incentives. In the past, pharmaceutical companies to sign on, joining the administration push to drive down prescription drug costs without forcing mandatory price controls. So there you go. Also, the Department of Justice Office of the Inspector announced that it will audit the DOJ handled the release of the files tied to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The move comes after growing complaints from politicians and the public who say the department didn't release everything from its Epstein investigation and may improperly hidden some of the names mentioned in the record. Let's see. What else? Critics have been pushing for full transparency, questioning whether the key documents were withheld or or certain individuals were protected. The Inspector General audit will review the DOJ managed the release and whether the process was handled properly. So there you go. There you go. Anyways, that's going to sum up our time together at the top of the hour. I will be going over to radiobig.fm if you want to come and hang out with me for the next couple hours or so. If not, you can hang out here with the likes of Sheldon Primus as he talks about the world of safety consulting. Anyways, I know who you are. You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios, as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and or Radio Big. For permission requests, please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.